The law, they says, sees no one, and it sees everybody. With that, I'll be opening the program today. Welcome to Law Gallery, coming to you from the Lagos studios of KAFTAN Television. As you know, Khalid, Bada is my name. And as you know, this is a program where we discuss the Nigerian law and everything in between, the Nigerian rule of law, the Nigerian constitution. And you know, I don't do it alone. I always have an interesting and brilliant legal practitioner with me. Now today, before we go into the discussion, let's see our updates from the country, and I'll be back.
Thank you for staying tuned. This is the KAFTAN News Update on the Law Gallery today. My name is Toluwalope Iluyemi. On the news today, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, has urged students of tertiary institutions in Nigeria to step forward and report instances of sexual harassment without fear of repercussions. ICPC made this call during a one-day sensitization workshop on sexual harassment in tertiary institutions held at its headquarters recently. The Secretary to the Commission, Clifford Okpara Hodu, noted that one of the primary challenges facing the fight against sexual harassment in tertiary institutions was the lack of reporting from victims due to apprehensions of stigmatization or further victimization. It is pertinent to note that unlawful benefits are not always pecuniary, and it is disheartening that sexual gratification has become a form of illegal tender in many institutions. Staff have been found to use their offices to demand and receive sexual benefits from other staff and students in exchange for good grades or other favors, Okpara Odu stated. Unfortunately, due to the fear of stigmatization or further victimization, many targets of such demand find themselves forced to succumb in order to avoid their consequences and denial of benefits to which they may ordinarily even be entitled. Okparaudu added that the culture of silence had allowed sexual harassment to thrive, but that the ICPC was working relentlessly to ensure that with sensitization and appropriate policy implementation, this culture would gradually change. According to him, Section 8 of the ICPC acts any person who corruptly asks for, receive or obtain any property or benefits of any kind for himself or any other person is guilty of an offense of official corruption and is liable to imprisonment for 7 years. He stated further that the sensitization workshop was organized for staff and students to enable them to gain a proper understanding of the concept of sexual harassment and appreciate the enormity of the problem, as well as to provide a platform for participants to understand the mandate of the ICPC in relation to abuse of office via sexual harassment. The legal attaché of the American Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, in Nigeria, Mr. Jack Smith, has applauded the appointment of Mr. Ola Olukoyede as Executive Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. He gave the commendation on Wednesday in Abuja while on a courtesy visit to the corporate headquarters of the EFCC. He expressed delight with the agenda of reform and refocusing of the EFCC, stressing that it would move the anti-corruption mandate of the Commission forward. I welcome the direction you are taking the Commission. The rebranding and other positive initiatives are good, is further stated. Responding, Olukoyede appreciated the visit and explained that the relationship between the FBI and Nigeria predated the establishment of the EFCC. He pointed out that his reform agenda for the Commission was not new, but represent more effective ways of achieving the mandate of the EFCC. It is important we properly define the focus of the anti-corruption work that we are doing, he said. The EFCC boss also stressed that though the Commission is interested in getting results, it is more concerned about getting results through right means. He pledged more commitment to the existing relationship between the EFCC and FBI, maintaining that the two agencies are partners in progress. Furthermore, according to UNESCO estimates, An additional 24.4 million primary school teachers and nearly 44 million secondary school teachers are needed to achieve the goal of universal basic education by 2030. Sub-Saharan Africa, which has the most overcrowded classrooms in the world, is also the region where teachers have the heaviest workload. Teachers' shortages are also the most glaring. 90% of secondary school schools suffer from severe staffing shortages. Adding to this issue is the attractiveness of the teaching profession, which exacerbates teacher shortages and contributes to the learning crisis. In response to these critical challenges, UNESCO Dhaka celebrated World Teachers' Day 2023 with a focus on teacher shortages, particularly on the appeal on the teaching profession in West Africa. A webinar was organized on October 5, 2023, using the Zoom platform. It brought together more than 100 participants, including experts, education professionals, and teachers, to discuss various aspects of the problem. This included teachers' motivation, working conditions, teachers' governance and management, the use of information and communication technologies, and recruitment policies. The workshop began with a poem by Miss Bada T. the head of the Teaching and Learning Cluster. After expressing gratitude to all the participants, she emphasized the substantial impact of educational policies on teachers' motivation and the qualities of teaching. Drawing from her own experience in the profession, our remarks exposed the challenges teachers face, such as overcrowded classrooms, extended working hours, disengaged students, and resulting in a decline in the quality of teaching. Some teachers even left education to pursue informal jobs for financial support. This situation has led to a shortage of qualified teachers, and those in the system often lack sufficient training to ensure quality education. Mr. Dimitri Saya, director of the UNESCO office in Dakar, paid tribute to teachers, acknowledging them as the spearhead of the efforts of their respective countries' effort to address the learning crisis in the region. He appreciated their daily effort to improve education systems and highlighted their essential role in an increasingly technology-driven world. According to him, teachers are experts capable of helping individuals to navigate the growing volume of unverified information, data, and knowledge to make sense of it. And that's it on the news update for today. Thank you for staying tuned as we return to Khalid and Barrister Oladeji Alade. Bye for now.
Welcome back from the news updates break. It's still the Law Gallery coming to you from the Lagos studios of KAFTAN Television. And before we went on the break, I promised that I have a brilliant legal practitioner with me. Now today, we will be discussing an interesting topic. Now, it's been commonly seen on the social media space that some families, particularly fathers or mothers, abandoning their family without, any recourse to the injunctions of the law, without any reason. Today, so we'll be examining the law concerning marriage and divorce in Nigeria. And with that, I have with me a brilliant practitioner, Oladeji Alade, who will be joining us in the discussion. Thank you for joining us on the program today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
Now, it is a common thing. We've seen it happen on social media, and we've seen a lot of times where fathers just leave their family without reason. Sometimes we see cases of mothers or wives that would just leave their family. And even an interesting one that I saw recently, I saw a wife in an interview that mentioned that her husband, when she got pregnant, her husband didn't ask her who owns the pregnancy. Meanwhile, she has the child for another person. You understand? So, just to show you how, bad the situation is here in Nigeria. Now, divorce and marriage under the law. Can you give us an overview of the whole process?
Okay, thank you. First, I would like to explain to you what marriage is under the Nigerian law. Marriage is a legally recognized union between two people coming together as partners. So, in the Nigerian context, we have different kinds of marriage.
Okay.
We have statutory marriage, we have civil marriage, we have Islamic marriage, and we have customary marriage. Now, for the purpose of this discussion, we'll be talking about statutory marriage, although we'll deviate into the different kinds of marriage, because it is also important either in the northern part of Nigeria and the southern part. Now, the statutory marriage is basically the court marriage in Nigeria. It is the court marriage in the essence that it is the law and is governed by the Matrimonial Causes Act and the Marriage Act, 1970, and as amended 2004.
Now, does that mean the Nigerian constitution does not recognize the traditional marriage, the general ones we have, what's it called?
No, it is recognized, but what the law brought from the English law, what is legally binding on each and every spouse is the statutory marriage. You understand? And it does not mean the traditional marriage, which has to do with the customer, is not important in Nigeria, which also means some churches conduct marriage, which also means that falls under civil marriage. It does not have to be the statutory marriage.
So the same law that applies to somebody that did a civil marriage or court marriage, for an example, is the same law that also applies to someone that only did or conducted a traditional marriage?
No, it is different because, in fact, the process alone would make you understand what you will go through before you can even divorce in statutory marriage.
Okay.
But divorce in ordinary marriage, like customary marriage, you could even divorce by paying back the bride price or just filing a petition to the customary courts, and the customary courts ordering for the petitioner to pay back the bride price or the respondent. It is always between two people, the petitioner and the respondent.
Now, going into the discussion itself, divorce as an issue. Now, is there certain conditions that are recognized by the law, or certain reasons that are recognized by the law, that allows or warrants divorce? Taking for an example, can a spouse just decide, okay, I'm no longer interested in the marriage, maybe because of the financial situation in the marriage, and I want to leave? Is that recognized by the law as a reason for divorce, or the law doesn't care about the reason, as long as, okay, you just want to leave, and okay, as long as you're in the bindings of the law and you want to leave, then you can leave?
No, you cannot just say you want to leave. There are grounds for divorce. Before you can divorce in Nigeria, there are grounds by which you could follow, and it's stated in the Matrimonial Causes Act, before both parties can be divorced. Now, those grounds that are stated in the Matrimonial Causes Act, section 15 to A to H, stipulates that before you can be divorced, this rule, you have to follow it, so that it won't be easy for people to just jump in and jump out. Now, one of the rules is adultery. We'll talk about when a marriage has also broken down irretrievably, and the ability for someone not to willfully consummate the marriage. Talking about the 1 year rule of desertion, 2 years rule, 3 years rule, and presumption of death, which is the 7-year rule. So I'm just cutting it short because of our time. But at least anybody that wants to go for any divorce, it's not supposed to be easy jumping in and jumping out. If not, there will be a lot of people doing that presently. Anyways, if people wants to go for divorce, they know how to at least consult a legal practitioner who's going to help them in the court of law. And it is going to be filed at the High Court of any state, either the state it is conducted or any state in Nigeria.
Thank you very much for that clarification. Now, in a case of divorce, does both parties have to agree? Let's say, for an example, the husband wants to leave and the wife says, okay, I'm not ready to leave the marriage, or vice versa. Can that work, or both parties have to agree that, okay, we both want to break the marriage?
Most of the time, both parties don't agree. Most of the time, both parties don't. Someone will just see a petition from a court, from the court bailiff, which means the petitioner is either the husband or the wife. It doesn't have to be that they have agreed that they want to go. Or the woman, if it's the woman or the man, might have an incline that this person is going for divorce. But it does not mean that they have agreed to go out of that marriage. It is the court that has the final say. It is the judge adjudicating. Even at first, the judge would not even start by divorcing both parties. They could even start with a leave of court, talking about when the marriage has not gotten to 2 years and the person wants to out. It is only when the judge now sees that the person, the petitioner or the applicant has suffered exceptional hardship, which means if the judge does not grant the petition or the particular application, it would show and it will affect the petitioner. So that's just it.
Now, what are the legal processes for a divorce? Now, I have read somewhere that in some particular areas of the country, or under some particular marriage laws, before a husband or spouses or partners can be granted divorce, maybe when they come to file for the divorce, then they will then be asked to go back home and live together for a minimum of 2 or 3 months. And after those months, if they still want to continue or they still want to proceed with the divorce, then the process will be carried out. Now, does that also exist in the Nigerian Constitution, and what are the processes of divorce, from the beginning to the end?
Okay, thank you very much. In what you just stated now, I think it should be under separation of marriage.
Okay. Now,
if you separate, you can separate for a while without getting divorced. If the judge feels they should still, first of all, go their separate ways, legally they are still married, but they'll be doing things separately. He or she might be living apart. I don't think there's a case whereby they will be staying together in the same, under the same roof, and of course, they might even come back together. Probably, you cannot say you want to divorce your wife and you have eaten her food, and you have even consummated the marriage. You've even had 1 or 2 things to do it, and you now come back and say you want to divorce. Of course, the judge shouldn't even grant that kind of petition. You understand? Now, going to the legal process whereby we can take to divorce either a spouse, you, of course, write a petition through your lawyer to the High Court of the state. Then the petition has to state the name of the parties, the dates, address, the child's name or children, and what have you on the petition. Then once you file it, there's a petitioner and there's the respondent. So the respondent is either the wife. It is always between two parties, the husband and the wife. And in some cases of adultery, there's a co-respondent.
Okay.
That's the third party, which that other person committed adultery. But adultery is even always hard to prove, except there's a child born outside the marriage. That's why it could be easily yes, that you have committed adultery. So, be that as it may, there are grounds for divorce which I have stated earlier. So those grounds are the grounds with the facts that you must at least choose one. One must either the adultery aspect, either desertion, maybe 1 year rule, 2 years rule, then the 3 years rule, or presumption of death, 5 years rule. Then with you and persistent situation whereby you could not consummate the marriage. So that's just it. Then the rest, the lawyer would at least tell you how to go through the nitty-gritty.
Now, in a case where a couple are getting a divorce and there are children amongst them, who gets custody of those children in line with the injunctions of the law?
Now, before going into trial, there's this conference that is compulsory that the judge would make both parties go through. That's where it will be stated who gets the custody of the child. You understand? Finance is also important in this aspect, because you cannot tell someone that cannot even take care of herself or himself to now start taking care of the children. Then the child too also needs to be familiar with the family members or probably the parents, to be used to them and to be happy with them. So the child, him or herself, would at least know if they want to go with this particular person or not. Although the judge would use its discretion in the case of a man.
Now, it is common in the West that maybe in the US and the UK, we've seen cases like that on the social media where a couple gets a divorce and, you know, the man has to pay child support even though the woman gets custody of the child. They divorce and the man's property is shared between the couple. The house, the woman gets the house, gets the car, gets the custody of, you know, the child, and the man still pays child support.
Yes.
I really don't understand that law. Maybe, is this similar to what we have in Nigeria?
Yes, they do that here too, but they're always being reasonable too. It also depends on whom has committed the offense in the matrimonial home. Offense in the sense that I'm not even saying in the criminal aspect, but someone has committed adultery, for example, and you do not expect the person that is innocent to now start paying what, you know, but for the purpose of the children, they need to support them. And I cannot even, don't let me even talk about myself. Let me use someone else as a case study now. Someone cannot now start looking at his or her child suffering and saying because he or she did not commit the adultery, so the child needs to suffer. No, you would want to take up that responsibility and take care of your child. But in the aspect of sharing your property between you and that other woman, that as a matter of fact, although it is what the court says that is the final, that's in the judgment, but at the same time, you would not want to share your property with someone that has even deserted you intentionally. You understand?
Thank you for the clarification.
So thank you.
Now, what are some of the common challenges that are being faced in the marriage law, or in cases of getting divorced and all? What are some of the challenges that are being faced?
Okay, we talk about finance.
Okay.
Because if you want to go for a divorce, you need to get a lawyer. So you need to be financially capable. We'll talk about incessant adjournments. Although Lagos State is trying, there's room for improvement. We'll talk about different aspects, talking about documentation. Okay. Now, if documentation in the sense that if you've discovered that this person has committed adultery, I'm sorry to be using adultery because that's the most common one. Yes, because people don't really desert here now. But for you to document, for you to record and have those evidences that you used to back up your petition later is hard. They won't even think that this is what they should do as per right now, until later when they want to petition and you start asking them as a lawyer that, oh, do you have this? Did you sign this? They now start saying no. Those are the challenges that they face in this aspect.
And how do you think the media can help in that with the challenges?
Well, through what you're doing now, enlightening people, telling them about divorce and having all sorts of conferences, then putting this interview out there, showing people, telling them both home and abroad about how they can keep documents, how they can save, although it's not as if they should be working towards divorce. No. People shouldn't be working towards divorce. Definitely. Because even the courts would not immediately divorce both parties. There's still room for improvement. There's still time for them to talk to each other and think. Maybe and settle before the proceeding. And there's even this process too. They call it decreancy. Once the judgment is given, which the judge gives, it is after 90 days that it becomes absolute. Okay. Now, it only means that immediately the judgment is given, the dissolution, it's going to be given decreancy. Now, that decreancy only states that within that 90 days, both parties does not need to go and start getting married to another spouse or another person immediately, because there's still room for them to change in case they have a change of mind or change of heart, or some things that they are doing now works out, or probably those people that got divorced due to financial constraints, but they won't state it categorically. Now, the other spouse might have money now. Situation might change. And women or men, people start, I've always loved you. Yes. I've always liked to change the situation. So within 90 days, it could still be cancelled, or the decree absolute be issued.
Thank you very much for the clarification. I really, really appreciate how you've been able to do justice to my questions. Now, do you have any advice for our viewers?
Okay, my advice for viewers is just that people should take it easy, especially in the home, talking about how you relate with each other between the husband and the wife, and you would not allow external factors determine your home. And even if you feel there's this domestic violence going on within the home, go to the appropriate authority, report them, talk to them, explain everything to them. And I think in Lagos State, there are 1 or 2 places you could go to, Office of the Public Defender or Violence Against, there's this ministry, violence agency, Violence Against Women and Child Rights. So if you approach them and you talk to them, they could help you, not necessarily divorcing, but manage the situation and settling it. But in all, you need to be focused and make sure you stand with your partners.
Thank you very much for your time, Barrister Oladeji. Alade, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
There you have it. He has told you that you should be patient. Naturally, that a marriage is not a walk in the park, and it's something that you always work on. A wise man once said that a marriage is like a farmland. It's something that you'd always have to tend from time to time. And if you do not attend to it, it will definitely go out of hand. And with that, I'll be closing the program for today. To return same time, same station, I remain Khalid. Bada. Bye for now.